My wife Sherry thought I was clueless about what she was doing. Maybe she assumed I was too trusting or oblivious to notice the way she was getting closer to her coworker, Todd. She was confident I wouldn't question her actions or confront her, thinking I'd just sit back and let her betray me. What she didn't realize, though, was that I had already noticed the cracks in our relationship for quite some time. Sherry's behavior had shifted in ways that were impossible to ignore. She was coming home late more often, her wardrobe had suddenly become more daring, and her attitude was different, more confident but distant. Our intimacy had taken a nosedive, and the hobbies we used to enjoy together felt like a thing of the past. Whenever I tried to talk to her about what was bothering me, she brushed off my concerns, telling me I was insecure and overthinking things. At a loss, I decided to take action. I hired a private investigator named Jake Sloan to uncover the truth. From the beginning of our marriage, I had made it clear that cheating was something I would never tolerate. Over our 10 years together, Sherry had promised time and time again that loyalty was a cornerstone of our bond. Yet, sitting in Sloane's office as he presented his findings, I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. Jake told me that while Sherry hadn't yet crossed the line physically with Todd, their emotional connection was undeniable. To me, emotional cheating was just as damaging. The photos Sloan showed me told the whole story. Sherry and Todd spending all their time together, holding hands, sharing private moments, and even kissing. Their work lunches had turned into something more, and they were extending their hours not for productivity, but for each other. When Jake revealed that Sherry and Todd were planning to spend an intimate weekend together, it felt like a final blow. Todd's wife was leaving town, and they were plotting ways to take advantage of that opportunity. Sherry was even considering coming up with a fake girls' weekend story to explain her absence. It was all too much to bear. As I listened to Jake, I could feel anger boiling inside me. Not only had Sherry chosen to betray our vows, but she had also underestimated me. Todd, on the other hand, had convinced her that I would simply accept their affair to keep our marriage intact. How little they knew me. When Sherry called me on Monday to discuss something important, I knew this was the moment she had rehearsed with Todd. But I had my own plans. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table waiting for her, calm and composed, even though my emotions were raging inside. I greeted her warmly, but I wasted no time. "Sherry," I said, looking directly into her eyes, "I want a divorce." Her face froze, the words catching her completely off guard. It was clear she had prepared for any reaction but this. For a moment, she was speechless. Then she stammered, "Why? What are you talking about?" "I don't love you anymore," I said simply, the truth cutting deeper than any accusations could. As the conversation unfolded, I laid everything bare: the photos, the lies, the emotional betrayal. Sherry tried to deny it, but when I showed her the private investigator's report, she crumbled. She begged me to reconsider, promising to cut all ties with Todd and claiming she still loved me. But her words felt hollow. I had heard enough. In the days that followed, I moved out of the house and began the process of rebuilding my life. Sherry's attempts to reach me grew desperate, but my decision was final. Betrayal, no matter its form, had destroyed the foundation of our marriage. Years later, as I reflected on that chapter of my life, I realized that leaving was the best thing I could have done, not just for myself but for both of us. Betrayal may hurt, but it also reveals the truth, no matter how painful. And sometimes, the truth is what sets you free. As I walked out of the house that day, leaving behind everything I had built with Sherry over 10 years of marriage, I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, sadness, and a growing sense of clarity. For years, I had ignored the signs, made excuses, and allowed myself to believe in the illusion of our marriage. But now, the truth was out in the open, and there was no turning back. Betrayal, whether physical or emotional, had shattered the foundation of trust between us, and there was no repairing it. In the days that followed, Sherry called me repeatedly, leaving voicemail after voicemail. At first, her tone was pleading. She begged for forgiveness, claiming that Todd meant nothing to her, and that she had made a terrible mistake. "It was just one night," she cried in one message. "Please, let's talk. We can fix this." But the sincerity in her voice wasn't enough to undo the damage. Then, the tone of her messages shifted. She became defensive, accusing me of overreacting and throwing away a decade of marriage over what she called a moment of weakness. I didn't respond to any of it. My decision was made, and I was determined to move forward, even if it meant doing so alone. The divorce process was quick and relatively painless. In our state, infidelity didn't hold much weight in court, so we settled for a no-fault divorce. Sherry was clearly blindsided by how efficiently I had prepared for this moment, from hiring a lawyer to gathering evidence of her affair. She didn't even contest the division of assets, though I could tell she wanted to. Perhaps she thought there was still a chance to salvage things if she didn't fight me in court. But to me, the marriage was already over. Her betrayal had ensured that.